Hi, hello, it's me Rajna. This video is all about transformer just in a capsule form, which includes definition of transformer, working principle as well as working formula of transformer, various losses in transformer, also the important types of transformer, and the three important parameters of a transformer with explanation, and the applications of transformer, two types of transformer rating, also the efficiency of a transformer. I have included few numerical problems with solution. If you have any doubts or suggestions, please do comment below. Thank you. What is a transformer? Transformer is actually a static device which transfers electrical energy from one circuit to another at same frequency. Thus, it acts as an AC to AC converter. Why it is called as a static device? Because it does not have any moving parts. Complete transfer of power is done through their static parts. Transformer actually consists of two parts. One is core of transformer. Second one is winding of transformer. This core is nothing but a magnetic circuit, and the windings of the transformer are considered as electrical circuits. So a transformer has two electrical circuits, which means two windings, and one magnetic circuit, which means the core of transformer. And these two electrical circuits are interconnected by one magnetic circuit or core. And with the help of this magnetic circuit, which means the core of the transformer is capable of transferring power at same frequency. Transformer has mainly two parts. The construction is under the construction topic. Transformer has mainly two parts. That is, one is the core of transformer and second one is winding of transformer. Winding are nothing but primary as well as secondary winding. Core of transformer and two windings of transformer. This is the general symbol of a transformer. And this core of transformer is made by laminated silicon steel, and they provide very low reluctant path to the magnetic flux. That is, using this laminated silicon steel, the complete flux from this primary winding get transferred to this secondary winding. That's why the silicon steel is used as core of transformer, which is having low reluctant path. Square type of plates are arranged one by one, which are stacked and combined together to form the core of transformer. And this plate is made using a ferromagnetic material which has the capability to absorb complete magnetic field, and it transfers this complete magnetic field from primary winding to secondary winding. It mainly consists of two windings, primary as well as secondary. The copper wire is wound onto this construction to form a primary winding, and to this primary winding input is given, that is supply is given, and at the same time another copper wire is wound onto the construction to form the secondary winding, and from where output is taken, that is load is connected, and where the load is connected, that winding is known as secondary winding, and where the supply is connected, that winding is known as primary coil or primary winding. If a transformer rating is given as 110 volt / 220 volt, which indicates primary voltage where the supply is given, that is primary winding. To the primary winding, we are providing the supply to the transformer. So primary voltage where the supply is given as 110 volt. That is low voltage winding or LV winding. And right side voltage where the load is connected as 220 volt. That is secondary voltage or high voltage winding or HV winding. Next is principle of operation of a transformer. Transformer works on the principle of electromagnetic induction in the form of mutual induction. That is, in electromagnetic induction itself, there are two phenomena inside this electromagnetic induction. One is self-induction and second one is mutual induction. Next, we'll discuss about the working principle of transformer in detail. When alternating current is made to flow through any of the winding, here I have taken a single winding and alternating current is made to flow through this winding, any of the winding, there will be alternating flux produced surrounding the winding, and magnitude of this flux is directly proportional to the magnitude of current flowing through the winding. Also, the direction of flux is according to the direction of current. And this direction of current in a winding can be found out using right hand grip rule. The rule says that if we hold our right hand like this, stretching the thumb along the axis of coil or winding, and the other fingers are closed, that is along the direction of current in the coil, the thumb indicates the direction of produced flux inside the coil and the closed fingers indicates the direction of current in the coil. And this flux becomes maximum. The first wave is showing maximum flux and the second one showing the waveform of a current. Flux becomes maximum in magnitude when current reaches its maximum for 1/2 cycle of the alternating current wave, and flux becomes zero when current in the coil crosses zero axis. Again in the next half cycle, flux becomes maximum but in opposite direction when current reaches to its reverse maximum. Thus, the alternating current produces continuously varying flux around the winding, and the flux line links the winding itself, and since the flux is varying according to Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, this varying flux produces a self-induced EMF. That is, there will be a self-induced EMF across the winding due to the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. This induced EMF or voltage is same in magnitude but opposite in polarity of the supplied voltage. That is, the supplied alternating voltage, which is also known as supplied voltage, causes alternating current in the winding, which produces continuously varying flux inside and outside the winding, and this varying flux produces induced EMF across the winding. That is, from the supplied voltage which causes alternating current, and alternating current produces continuously varying flux, and this continuously varying flux produces induced EMF across the winding. Thus, we can say that the supplied voltage is the cause and induced EMF is the effect of this cause. So, according to Lenz's law, cause always opposes the effect. Here, EMF is induced because of this cause, that is supply voltage. So, we can say that induced EMF opposes the supply voltage. Polarity of induced EMF opposes to that of the supplied voltage. Suppose to the first winding, we considered a single winding here, and to this single winding, one more winding is brought closer. So the flux induced in the first winding links with the second winding due to mutual induction phenomenon. That is, one more winding, a second winding is brought closer to the first winding. So the flux gets linked with the second winding also. Due to this varying flux linkage, there will be an induced EMF across the secondary winding. This induced EMF is quite small as flux linkage is also small from primary to secondary. We know that induced EMF is directly proportional to rate of change of flux linkage. Since the flux linkage is small, induced EMF produced is also quite small. This is because flux linkage is comparatively less because there is an air gap between the coil. And this air gap is highly reluctant. Because of this high reluctance air gap, only small magnitude of flux links from the primary winding to the secondary winding. So, if we connect a closed circuit across the secondary winding like this, we will get a very small tiny current through the circuit provided secondary winding is placed much closer to the first winding. Thus, only a small portion, only some portion of input power is transformed to the output through the secondary winding. This is because only some portion of generated flux of first winding links with the second winding. Because of the high reluctance air gap between the coil, only small portion of generated flux links with the secondary winding. In order to transfer maximum electric power from first winding to second winding, we need to link maximum flux of first winding to the secondary winding. Thus, the complete flux from the first winding can be linked to the second winding by placing a low reluctant magnetic core in between these two windings. Steel is a well-known low reluctant magnetic material. As soon as we keep this steel core, entire flux surrounded in the first winding will get concentrated inside the core and links with the secondary winding. That is, entire flux surrounded in the first winding will get concentrated inside the core and links with the secondary winding. So, the rate of change of flux with respect to time, that is d phi by dt, is nearly same on both windings. As the first winding is connected to the supply, this is considered as primary winding, and to which winding load is connected, that winding is considered as secondary winding. Suppose this primary winding has N1 number of turns and supply voltage V1. Voltage per turn across the primary winding can be represented as V1 by N1. This V1 by N1 voltage will appear across the secondary winding. If secondary winding has N2 number of turns, so total voltage across the secondary winding, that is V1 by N1, will appear on the secondary winding, and secondary winding has N2 number of turns, means total voltage across the secondary winding can be represented as N2 into V1 by N1, which is equal to V2, that is voltage across secondary winding. Normally, this secondary circuit is connected to load circuit in the transformer, and to which winding load is connected is known as secondary winding. If N2 is not equal to N1, that is number of turns in secondary is not equal to number of turns in primary, then secondary voltage will also be different from that of primary voltage, that is V2 is not equal to V1. If N2 is greater than N1, that is turns in secondary is greater than number of turns in primary, then V2 is proportionally higher than V1. That is, V2 is also greater than V1. That is, secondary voltage greater than primary voltage. Then this transformer is known as step-up transformer. If turns in secondary is less than number of turns in primary, then the voltage across the secondary is also less than voltage across primary. Then this type of transformer is known as step-down transformer. Suppose a transformer rating is given as 220 volt by 110 volt. Then primary winding to which supply is connected is 220 volt and secondary winding to which load is connected is 110 volt. Here 110, that is secondary voltage, is less than primary voltage 220 volt. That is, V2 is less than V1. V2 is less than V1 means it is a step down transformer. V2 is less means N2 will also be less. So it is a step down transformer. Turns will be less in the secondary. If it is a step up transformer, it can be represented like this. That is, turns will be more in secondary. Next, we'll discuss about the working formula of a transformer. Consider NP as number of turns in primary coil or primary winding, NS as number of turns in secondary coil or secondary winding, EP or VP as the primary voltage, that is input voltage, ES or VS as secondary voltage, that is output voltage. EP or VP can be written as minus NP d phi by dt, and ES or VS, that is voltage on the secondary side, can be written as minus negative NS d phi by dt. D phi by dt is not changing because flux change is same on both coils. Dividing equation 2 with equation 1, we will get ES, dividing equation 2 with equation 1. So, ES by EP equal to negative negative and d phi by dt get cancelled. So, NS by NP. ES or VS can be written as, that is voltage across the secondary winding can be written as NS by NP into EP. If NS is equal to NP, that is number of turns in primary as well as secondary is equal means, according to this equation, NS and NP equal means ES equal to EP, that is VS equal to VP. If NS is greater than NP, that is secondary turns is greater than primary turns. For example, let us take NS as 20 turns and NP as 10 turns. So, according to this equation, ES equal to NS by NP into EP. We can write VS or ES as 20 by 10 EP, which is equal to 2 EP. That is, VS is double to EP. That is, secondary output voltage is double to that of input voltage. So, we can say that it is a step-up transformer. If secondary voltage is double to that of input voltage, if secondary voltage is greater than primary voltage, we can say that it is a step-up transformer. If NS is less than NP, let us take another example, NS as 10 turns and NP as 20 turns. So, ES can be written as 10 by 20 EP, which is equal to half EP, that is EP by 2 or VP by 2. Secondary output is half of that of primary voltage. Here secondary voltage is less. We can say that it is a step down transformer. So, we can write this equation NS by NP equal to R or K. Anything, any variable we can use, R or K, which is equal to NS by NP, which is known as transformer ratio. If R or K is greater than 1, which means numerator is greater. Numerator is greater means NS is greater. If NS is greater means secondary turns is greater means which is a step up transformer. If R is less than 1 means NS is smaller value. ns smaller means number of turns in the secondary is smaller, which means it is a step down transformer. Transformer is said to be 100% efficient when input power is equal to, that is, power on the input side is equal to power on the output. Power can be written as voltage into current. That is VI on the input side equal to VI on the secondary side, that is output side, which can be written as input side V can be written as EP or VP into IP equal to ES or VS into IS, which can be written as ES by EP equal to IP by IS equal to, from this equation we can write it as ES by EP equal to NS by NP. NS by NP is nothing but R or K. This is the main equation of a transformer. Next we'll discuss about the role of transformer, that is importance of transformer. Transformers are kind of device which can control the voltage as well as current value. Some devices will require low voltage and some devices will require high voltage in our daily life like TV, mobile, etc. So if we connect this low voltage devices directly to our 230 volt supply, it will get exploded or blast. So we need an intermediate device which is nothing but a transformer, which is capable to control this 230 volt and capable to distribute this voltage according to our demand. This intermediate device is nothing but a transformer which is used for the same purpose. Sometimes it can increase the output voltage or sometimes it can decrease the output voltage. When they are used to increase the output voltage, such type of transformers are known as step-up transformer, and when the transformers are used to decrease the output voltage, that type of transformer is known as step-down transformer. In order to understand the role of transformer completely, we are considering a generating station here, which is producing an electricity of 11 kilovolt. That is a generating station producing an electricity of 11 kilovolt, and we need to transfer this electricity near to our house, which is taken as destination. For this, we are taking this voltage at a very high level, at the same time decreasing the current. So a device is connected in between the generating station and the destination to increase the voltage and decrease the current. That is, a transformer is connected in between by adjusting the number of turns of transformer. That is, voltage is increased, current is decreased. Voltage increase means voltage regulation get increased, efficiency also increased. If I is decreased means I square R get decreased. And 11 kilovolt is increased to 132 kilovolt by using a transformer. The voltage get increased, so this transformer is nothing but a step-up transformer. In order to make it again, that is again to 11 kilovolt, this 132 kilovolt can again be converted to 11 kilovolt by using another transformer in between this. That is, this transformer rating is nothing but 132 kilovolt by 11 kilovolt. Here voltage is decreased, so this is nothing but a step down transformer. So for our common usage, this much high voltage is not necessary. So another transformer is used in between this step down transformer and destination in order to reduce this 11 kilovolt to 0.44 kilovolt. Again the voltage is decreased. It is known as step down transformer. So this generating station unit is nothing but a generation unit, and these two transformers consist of transmission unit, and this transformer and the destination makes distribution unit. These two transformer is used for transmission purpose. It is known as power transformers, since power is transformed at very high voltages. And this transformer, step down transformer, is used for distribution. It is known as distribution transformer. And the complete system can be referred to as power system. Our next topic is losses in transformer. The output power of a transformer is always less than the input power because of some losses in transformer. As we already discussed, there are three main parts in a transformer, that is iron core, primary winding as well as secondary winding. In the core, there is existence of flux, and in primary as well as secondary winding, there is flow of current, that is I1 and I2. Losses in transformer takes place because of two parameters, that is flux as well as current. Thus, losses can be classified into two types, iron loss or core loss and copper loss. Because of the existence of flux in the iron core, iron loss or core loss happens, and in the primary and secondary winding there is flow of current, copper loss takes place. This iron loss is again classified into two types, eddy current loss and hysteresis loss. What is a core loss? The losses that takes place in the core is known as core loss or iron loss. Since the core is made up of iron, it is also known as iron loss. In an iron core, there is existence of flux. Losses due to this flux is nothing but core loss or iron loss. We know that transformer works on AC supply. When we provide AC supply, transformer magnetizes the core. And after magnetization of this core, flux will exist. And nature of flux is alternating. That is, once transformer magnetizes the core, after magnetization of this core, flux will exist. And this flux is alternating in nature. That is, the flux changes with time. So this alternating flux will be there in the iron core, and because of this, losses takes place in the iron core. There are two types of core losses. One is eddy current loss and second one is hysteresis loss. What is an eddy current loss? As the flux is alternating, it links with the iron core. So according to Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, there is an induced EMF in the iron core due to the alternating flux. And this EMF produces short circuiting current in the iron core, inside the iron core. And this current is nothing but eddy current. Losses due to this current is known as eddy current loss. It can be expressed as, eddy current loss can be expressed as WE equal to K B square max F square T square. And it is represented in terms of watts. Unit is watts. K is nothing but transformer ratio. Transformer ratio can also be represented by small letter r. B max is nothing but maximum flux density in Weber per meter square. And F is frequency in hertz. T is the thickness of the lamination and it is expressed in meters. What is hysteresis loss? As we know that nature of flux is alternating. So before magnetization of the iron core, the dipoles inside the core, the iron core will have dipoles inside, which is nothing but charge carriers. So before magnetization of this iron core, the dipoles in the iron core are in random direction. Suppose consider it like this, random direction. But once the core get magnetized, that is iron core get magnetized, the dipoles inside the iron core get aligned in the uniform direction like this. But as the magnetic field gets reversed or alternated, the dipole will change its orientation to opposite direction. Hence, the dipoles need to change its orientation after each half cycle. So, energy loss takes place, and this loss is known as due to magnetization and demagnetization. And this loss is known as hysteresis loss. It can be expressed as WH equal to eta Bmax raised to 1.6 FV. It is expressed in unit watts. Eta is nothing but Steinmetz constant, and Bmax is maximum value of flux density in Tesla. F is the frequency represented in Hertz, and V is the volume of the material represented in meter cube. We can minimize the iron or core loss by using silicon steel material for the construction of core instead of iron core. Next, we'll discuss about copper loss. There is current flow in both primary as well as secondary winding, that is I1 and I2. So both the windings will have some resistance because of this current flow. Let us consider it as R1 and R2, that is resistance of primary and secondary winding respectively. So because of this, power loss will be there, that is I square R. So copper loss at primary side can be represented as I1 square into R1, and at the secondary side can be written as I2 square into R2. So total copper loss is equal to I1 square R1 plus I2 square R2. This loss depends on current, and current in the transformer depends on varying load condition. So it is also known as, that is copper loss is also known as variable loss. Our next topic is different parameters of transformer. There are mainly three important parameters of a transformer. One is winding resistance, second one is leakage reactance, and third one is impedance. First, we will discuss about winding resistance. Let's consider R1 and R2 as the primary and secondary resistance. For simple and easy calculation, let us consider both resistance on one winding. First, we will consider the primary resistance get shifted to the secondary, that is R1 is getting shifted to the secondary as R1 dash, and it gets shifted to secondary by multiplying with K square. That is R2 is the secondary resistance and R1 dash is the primary resistance which got shifted to secondary by multiplying with K square. That is K square, R1 is the primary resistance which makes the primary resistance in the secondary, which is R1 dash. Thus, copper loss on secondary side can be written as WCU equal to, we know that copper loss is nothing but I square R. So, on the secondary side means I2 square into R2. R2 is nothing but R2 plus R1 dash, which makes R02. That is resistance in the secondary side. That is I2 square into R02 watts. R02 is nothing but R2 plus R1 dash, where R1 dash equal to K square into R1. Our second case is shifting the secondary resistance, that is R2 to the primary side. So when it gets shifted to the primary side, R2 becomes R2 dash, and we are shifting the secondary resistance to primary by dividing it by K square. That is R1 is a primary resistance and R2 dash is nothing but secondary resistance shifted to primary, which makes R2 dash equal to R2 by K square. Thus, copper loss can be written as WCU equal to I1 square on the primary side. So, I1 square into R1. R1 is nothing but R1 plus R2 dash, which makes R01. That is the primary resistance. R01 means R1 plus R2 dash. That is I1 square R01 watts. R01 is R1 plus R2 dash, and R2 dash is equal to R2 by K square. Second parameter of a transformer is leakage reactance. When current flows through the core, which generates flux, which links the primary as well as secondary coil as it flows through the core. But practically, some part of flux flows through only one coil or winding, either primary or secondary, which is called as leakage flux. Thus, out of total flux which links the two coils, some flux phi L1 flows through primary coil and phi L2 flows through secondary coil. These leakage flux in phase with current I1 and I2 induce voltages, that is EL1 and EL2 respectively. So EL1 can be written as, or VL1 can be written as I1 into X1, and EL2 or VL2 can be written as I2 into X2, which is on the secondary side. Where X1 is the primary leakage reactance and X2 is the secondary leakage reactance. The third important parameter of a transformer is impedance. Let us consider the resistance, reactance and impedance on primary side as R1, X1 and Z1 respectively, and on the secondary side as R2, X2 and Z2 respectively. We are considering a single side. That is, in case 1, the secondary resistance, reactance and impedance get shifted to the primary side. So, we already discussed that if resistance got shifted to primary side, it will get divided by a factor K square. Same with the reactance also, it will get divided by the factor K square. So, resistance R2 dash becomes R2 by K square and reactance X2 dash becomes X2 by K square. So, R1 plus R2 dash is nothing but R01 and X1 plus X2 dash is nothing but X01. So, the impedance on the primary side can be written as Z01 equal to root of R01 whole square plus X01 whole square. The impedance formula is Z equal to root of R square plus X square, or Z square equal to R square plus X square. So, on the primary side Z01 equal to root of R01 whole square plus X01 whole square. Considering the second case, that is primary resistance, reactance and impedance getting shifted to the secondary side. So, R1 dash becomes K square into R1 and X1 dash becomes K square into X1. Thus, R2 and R1 dash, that is R2 plus R1 dash makes R02 and X2 plus X1 dash makes X02, and the impedance on the secondary side can be written as Z02 equal to root of R02 whole square plus X02 whole square. Next, we'll discuss about the operation of transformer on two cases. In case 1, that is transformer on no load condition. That is, secondary side is kept open on no load condition. So, the current through secondary winding is 0. That is, I2 equal to 0. So, the iron loss as well as copper loss occurs due to I1, that is primary current only. Thus, the total current on the primary side can be denoted as I0, which will have two components. That is, iron loss component IW and copper loss component I mu. IW, that is iron loss component, can be written as I0 cos phi, and I mu, which is on the x-axis, can be written as I0 sin phi. So, total current I0 can be written as IW plus I mu. In the second case, when we connect load at secondary terminal, current I2 starts to flow and generates flux phi2, which flows opposite in direction to phi1. If phi1 is towards this direction, means phi2 will be in the opposite direction. So this flux phi2 weakens the primary flux phi1. If primary flux phi1 gets weakened, means which means E1 is smaller compared to V1. That is, supply voltage is greater than E1. Therefore, I2 dash starts to flow and generates flux phi2 dash in the same direction of our main flux phi1. Now this current I2 dash, being equal in magnitude but opposite in direction, cancels the current, secondary current I2. That is, I2 dash equal to minus I2, I2 dash plus I2 equal to 0. So effect of phi2 dash and phi2 gets neutralized. So total flux through core remains as phi1, that is phi, as that in the no load condition. There are mainly three types of loads. One is resistive load, second one is inductive load, and third one is capacitive load. Next topic is transformer rating. There are mainly two types of rating of a transformer. One is voltage rating and second one is kVA rating. Voltage rating is nothing but which indicates the rated primary as well as secondary voltages. If voltage rating is given as 110 volt by 240 volt, determines primary voltage is 110 volt and secondary voltage is 240 volt. Thus, they are used to determine the primary as well as secondary voltage of a transformer. kVA rating. kVA stands for kilovolt ampere. In practical transformer, iron loss and copper loss are because of voltage as well as current. Thus, we represent the power of transformer in terms of kilovolt ampere and not in kilovolts. So, kVA rating can be denoted as, can be referred as E1 or V1 into I1 full load divided by 1000 on the primary side, and on the secondary side it can be denoted as, kVA rating can be denoted as E2 or V2 into I2 full load by 1000. I1 FL is nothing but full load primary current and I2 FL is nothing but full load secondary current. Next, we will discuss about types of transformer. Depending on various parameters, transformers are classified into various types. First, according to construction. The construction of a transformer is dependent on how the primary as well as secondary windings are wound around the central laminated steel core. Accordingly, they are classified into two types. One is core type transformer and second one is shell type transformer. First, we will discuss about core type transformer. The core type transformers are nothing but windings will be in cylindrical form wound mounted on the core limbs. Cylindrical coils will have different layers and each layers will be isolated from each other. Second type is shell type transformer. The coils, the primary coils as well as secondary coils or winding will be in the rectangular form. The coils are former wound and mounted in layers which are stacked with insulation between them. To the center, the primary winding as well as secondary windings are wound in the shell type transformer. The second classification of transformer is according to core medium. Based on the medium placed between the primary and secondary winding, transformers are classified as air core transformer, and second classification is iron core transformer. Air core transformer. In the air core transformer, the primary as well as secondary windings are wound on non-magnetic strip. That is, it will be a non-magnetic material where the linkage between primary and secondary is through the air. Whereas in the iron core transformer, primary as well as secondary windings are wound on magnetic material, that is multiple iron plates, which provide a perfect linkage path to the generated flux. That is, flux will be linked from primary to secondary because of this magnetic material. In the iron core transformer, the mutual inductance effect is very less, and also the reluctance offered to the generated flux is very high because it is a non-magnetic strip. The primary and secondary are wound to a non-magnetic strip. The reluctance offered to the generated flux is really high. But whereas in the iron core transformer, since the primary and secondary are wound on a magnetic material, reluctance to the linkage flux is very less. In the air core transformer, the hysteresis and eddy current losses are very less and completely eliminated. Whereas in the iron core transformer, these are widely used transformer in which efficiency will be really high, but there will be hysteresis as well as eddy current losses. The third classification of a transformer is according to voltage level. These are the most commonly used transformer types for all applications depending upon the voltage rates from primary to secondary. According to voltage level, they are classified into two types. One is step-up transformer and second one is step-down transformer. In the step-up transformer, there will be more number of turns on secondary coil than that of primary. Induced voltage across the secondary is greater because number of turns is greater in the secondary than the applied voltage across the primary coil. Or in other words, we can say that voltage has been stepped up in step-up transformer. Whereas in the case of step-down transformer, there will be less number of turns in the secondary coil compared to that of primary, and induced voltage across the secondary will be very less than the applied voltage across primary coil. Or in other words, we can say that voltage is stepped down in step-down transformer. The fourth classification is according to type of supply. These are the most commonly used transformer types which depends on supply line. According to type of supply, they are classified into two types. One is single phase transformer and second one is three phase transformer. The single phase transformer accepts single phase AC power and outputs single phase AC power, typically at a higher or lower voltage level. Energy is transferred from one circuit to one or more circuits via electromagnetic induction. The three-phase transformer is a common method of alternating current, electric power generation, transmission and distribution. It is also the most common method used by electrical grids worldwide to transfer power. This is how we represent the three-phase as well as single-phase transformer. The fifth classification of a transformer is according to their use. According to the necessity, they are classified as power transformer, distribution transformer, measuring and instrument transformer. The first type is power transformer. They are widely used for stepping up and stepping down the voltage at the electrical power generating station. That is, these two transformer makes power transformer, which we already discussed under the topic role of transformer. That is, at the transmission side, we use two transformers for stepping up and stepping down the voltage, which is known as power transformers. And distribution transformer is also known as service transformer, which provides final voltage transmission in the electric power distribution system. This transformer is known as distribution transformer for stepping down the voltage used in the distribution line to the level used by the customer. Before providing it to the customer, we step down the voltage at the distribution side, and this step down transformer is known as distribution transformer. Third one is instrument transformer. They are high accuracy class electrical device used to isolate or transform voltage as well as current levels. They are classified into two types mainly, instrument transformers. One is current transformer, second one is potential or voltage transformer. Always the electrical instruments are not directly connected to the meters of high voltage for safety purpose. So voltage as well as current transformers are used for connecting these electrical instruments to the measuring instrument. So this current transformer converts high value of current into low value, and this voltage or potential transformer transforms or converts high value of voltage into low voltage value. According to the sixth classification of transformers according to place of use, they are classified into two types. First one is indoor transformer and second one is outdoor transformer. Indoor transformers are covered with a proper roof, like as in the process industry. And outdoor transformer are nothing but distribution type transformers. Next we will discuss about application of transformer. First application is it can be used for stepping up or stepping down the voltages as well as current, which we already discussed. Second application is isolation. Third one is impedance matching. And fourth application is DC filtering. Isolation is nothing but, suppose we have a system in which load is connected directly to the supply side. If there is any fault at this load side, the same fault will get affected to the supply side also. So we need to isolate this both using a device known as isolation transformer. If the supply voltage is 230 volt and if we want to get the same voltage at the secondary side, that is load side, then we need to use a transformer which is having 1:1 ratio. 1:1 ratio transformer is nothing but transformer having same voltage rating at the primary as well as secondary side, that is 230 volt by 230 volt rating with same number of turns. The third application of transformer is impedance matching. That is, in order to transfer maximum power from source side to load side, a condition should be satisfied. That is, load impedance should be equal to source impedance. Also, there is another important equation which connects impedance and turns ratio, that is number of turns, N1 and N2. That is Z1 dash equal to N1 by N2 whole square Z2 dash. Suppose consider the source impedance, that is the impedance on the primary side as 2 ohms, and load impedance, which means impedance on the secondary side as 10 ohms. And we are substituting these values of Z1 and Z2 to equation 1. We will get 2 ohms equal to N1 by L2 whole square into 10 ohms. So N1 by N2 is equal to root of 1 by 5. That is, we need to set the turns ratio, that is N1 by N2 accordingly, to get the maximum power transfer, which is known as impedance matching. The fourth application is DC filtering, that it filters DC components. Suppose consider a transformer with turns ratio 1:2 and supply voltage to this transformer is 10 plus 40 sin omega t plus 4 sin 3 omega t. Here for this first term frequency is 0 and for the other two terms frequency is not equal to 0. We know that For a DC term, the DC supply flux is d phi by dt is, for a constant, is 0. That is, derivative of flux is 0 for a DC term. And we also know that induced EMF equation E equal to N d phi by dt. So let's find out the induced voltage across the secondary term, secondary side. For this constant, the derivative is 0 plus, we know that the turns, number of turns is double in the secondary side compared to primary side, that is 1:2. So considering this term 40 sine omega t, the induced voltage becomes, number of turns is double means 40 into 2 is 80. There is no flux term here, so taking derivative, it is a constant sine omega t plus, next consider this term, third term 4 sine 3 omega t. Number of turns is double means 4 into 2 is 8. This is a constant, there is no phi term, so sine 3 omega t. There is no DC term when we calculated the induced voltage across secondary side, which means the transformer filters this DC term. Our next topic is efficiency of transformer. Efficiency is nothing but ratio of output power to input power, and it is always represented in terms of percentage, eta equal to output power by input power into 100, or it can be written as output power means V2 I2 or Vs Is divided by input power means V1 I1 or Vp Ip into 100. That is, output power divided by input can be written as output plus losses. Losses are of two types, iron loss and copper loss. So output by output plus iron loss plus copper loss into 100. Let's derive the equation for maximum efficiency. Eta max equal to V2 I2 power factor divided by V2 I2 power factor plus considering the output side. That is why V2 I2 plus iron loss plus copper loss into 100. Power factor is nothing but cos phi. Substituting the value of PF, that is V2 I2 cos phi 2 divided by V2 I2 cos phi 2 plus iron loss is Wi denoted by Wi plus copper loss on the secondary side. We already discussed that if we shift the resistance of primary side to secondary side, copper loss can be written as I2 square into R02. We are taking derivative in terms of I2, that is d eta by di2 can be written as derivative of u by v is nothing but v du minus u dv by v square, considering denominator term as v and numerator term as u. So v du means denominator term can be written as it is. So v2 I2 cos phi 2 plus wi plus I2 square R02. Du means taking derivative of numerator side, that is in terms of I2. So v2 cos phi 2 minus u dv, writing numerator term as it is, that is v2 I2 cos phi 2. dv means derivative of denominator side in terms of I2. So v2 cos phi 2 plus derivative of a constant is 0 and I2 square derivative is 2I2 into R02 by v square. V square means denominator square. v2 I2 cos phi 2 plus wi plus I2 square R02 equal to 0. So the denominator into 0 becomes 0. So v2 I2 cos phi 2 plus wi plus I2 square R02 into v2 cos phi 2 minus v2 I2 cos phi 2 into v2 cos phi 2 plus 2I2 R02 equal to 0. From this, taking v2 cos phi 2 as common, it becomes this. Consider this term, this as one term and this one as second term. From this first term, we are taking out V2 cos phi 2. So V2 I2 cos phi 2 plus Wi plus I2 square R02. V2 cos phi 2 is taken out. From the second term also V2 cos phi 2 is taken out. So minus V2 cos phi 2 taken out, remaining as V2 I2 cos phi 2 plus minus becomes minus. From this V2 cos phi 2 is taken out means remaining as I2, and this I2 makes 2 I2 square R02 equal to 0. Cancelling these two terms, we will get, and V2 cos phi 2 by 0 means 0. Wi I2 square R02 minus 2 I2 square R02 is minus I2 square R02. So Wi minus I2 square R02 equal to 0. Wi equal to I2 square R02. Wi equal to, this is on the iron loss on secondary side. On the primary side, we can write it as Wi equal to I1 square R01. So this R02 is nothing but R2 plus R1 dash, and R1 dash equal to K square R1. R01 equal to R1 plus R2 dash, and R2 dash equal to R2 by K square, which we already discussed. So from this we can write I2 square equal to Wi by R02 and I2 equal to root of Wi by R02. Dividing and multiplying both sides by V2, we will get V2 I2 equal to V2 root of Wi by R02, that is multiplying both sides by V2. V2 I2 can be written as load kVA equal to, VI is nothing but kVA, kilovolt ampere. So load kVA equal to V2 root of Wi by R02. Dividing and multiplying this right hand side by I2. So we'll get load kVA equal to, multiplying and dividing by I2, we'll get V2 I2 root of Wi by I2 square R02. Outside the root it will be I2, and inside the root it is I2 square, which is equal to V2 I2 root of Wi by I2 square R02 is nothing but copper loss, root of Wi by WCU. So load kVA is equal to V2 I2 means full load kVA root of Wi by WCU. This is the relation between kVA and iron loss and copper loss. This is the equation to find out the maximum efficiency. Maximum efficiency equal to x kVA into 10 raised to 3 power factor divided by x kVA into 10 raised to 3 power factor plus Wi plus x square WCU into 100. Where power factor can be written as cos phi, and x is the ratio of actual to full load kVA. Next, let's solve some numerical problems. First question is, in a 25 kilovolt ampere 2000 by 200 volt power transformer, the iron loss and full load copper losses are 350 watt and 400 watt. Calculate the efficiency at unit power factor at 1 full load and second half load conditions. Let's solve this. Given kVA equal to 25, iron loss Wi equal to 350 watt, copper loss WCU equal to 400 watt, and power factor is 1. That is, unit power factor means 1. At full load means x is taken as 1 and half load means x is taken as 0.5. We need to find out the efficiency at full load as well as half load. Write down the equation to find out the efficiency, that is eta equal to x kVA into 10 raised to 3 power factor divided by x kVA into 10 raised to 3 power factor plus Wi plus x square WCU into 100. At full load means x is 1. So eta equal to 1 into kVA means 25. It is already given. 25 into 10 raised to 3 into power factor is 1. 1 divided by x is 1 into kVA. 25 into 10 raised to 3 power factor is 1 plus Wi is 350 watt. 350 plus x square is 1 square into WCU means 400 watt. 400 into 100. Using a calculator, we will get the value as eta equal to 97.08%. At half load means x is taken as 0.5. That is eta equal to 0.5 into kVA means 25 into 10 raised to 3. Power factor is 1 divided by 0.5 into kVA means 25 into 10 raised to 3. Power factor is 1 plus Wi means 350 plus x is 0.5 at half load square into WCU means 400. Using a calculator, we will get eta equal to 96.52%. Next question is, a power transmission line feeds input power at 2200 volt to a step down transformer of primary winding 3000. Find number of turns in secondary to get power output at 220 volt. It is given Vp equal to 2200 volt and Np equal to 3000 and Vs equal to 220 volt. We need to find out Ns. It is a step down transformer since Vs is less than Vp. Already we know the equation Vp by Vs equal to Np by Ns. From this, Ns equal to Vs Np by Vp. That is 220 into 3000 divided by 2200. Ns is equal to 300 turns. Third problem is, a 40 kVA single phase transformer has 400 turns in the primary and 100 turns in the secondary. Primary is connected to 2000 volt 50 Hz supply. Determine first secondary voltage on open circuit. Second one, current flowing through the two windings in full load condition. Third one is maximum value of flux. It is given kVA equal to 40, Np equal to 400 turns, Ns equal to 100 turns, Vp equal to 2000 volt, frequency is 50 Hz. We need to find out the secondary voltage, that is Vs, current flowing through the two windings. Two windings means primary as well as secondary, that is Ip and Is, and maximum value of flux, that is phi m. First we will find out Vs, that is secondary voltage. We know that Vs by Vp equal to Es by Ep equal to Ns by Np, which is the transformer ratio R or K. So Ns by Np equal to Vs by Vp. Ns is given and Np is given, also Vp is given. 100 by 400 equal to Vs by 2000. So Vs is equal to 2000 into 100 by 400, which is 500 volts. Next we will find out Is and Ip. We know that kVA can be written as Vp into Ip, which is Is into Vs. So from this, Ip equal to kVA by Vp. kVA is given 40 into 10 raised to 3 by Vp means 2000, which is equal to 20 amps. Ip is 20 amps. Considering this equation, kVA equal to Vs Is. Is is equal to kVA by Vs. kVA is given as 40. So kVA means we need to multiply it by 10 raised to 3. So 40 into 10 raised to 3 by Vs is 500 is equal to Is equal to 80 amps. Next, in order to find out the maximum flux, we need to use this equation, that is Vp or Ep equal to 4.44 phi m FNP, where phi m can be written as Ep or Vp by 4.44 F into Np, where Vp is given as, that is primary voltage 2000 by 4.44 into frequency is 50 Hertz into NP, number of turns in the primary side is 400, which is equal to maximum flux is 22.52 milliweber. Milli can be written as into 10 raised to minus 3 Weber. Next problem is a transformer has efficiency 80%. It works at 4 kilowatt and 100 volt. If the secondary voltage is 240 volt, find the primary as well as secondary current. It is given efficiency is 80% and P input at the primary side is 4 kilowatt, which is equal to 4000 watt, and primary side voltage is 100 volt. Also secondary side voltage is 240 volt. We need to find out the primary as well as secondary current IS and IP. We know that the power equation P in equal to Vp into IP, that is 4000 equal to Vp is given 100 into IP. IP can be found out as IP equal to 4000 by 100 equal to 40 amps. Also we know that the equation for efficiency equal to output power by input power in terms of power. So it can be written as Vs Is by Vp IP. Efficiency is given 80%. Percentage means 80 by 100 equal to Vs Is by Vp IP. That is Vs is 240, Is is, we need to find out Is, by Vp is 100, IP is 40. So Is will get it as 13.3 amps. Fifth problem is transformer has maximum efficiency of 98% at 15 kVA at unit power factor. Find out the copper loss as well as iron loss. It is given efficiency equal to 98%, kVA rating is 15, and power factor, unit power factor means power factor is 1. Maximum efficiency equation equal to x kVA into 10 raised to 3 power factor by x kVA into 10 raised to 3 power factor plus Wi plus x square WCU into 100. It is given that maximum efficiency of transformer. So maximum efficiency means x square WCU equal to copper loss is equal to iron loss. So if copper loss and iron loss are equal means x square WCU equal to Wi. So x is equal to 1. So eta max equal to x kVA into 10 raised to 3 power factor by x kVA into 10 raised to 3 power factor. Wi and WCU are equal. So 2 Wi into 100. Eta max is given 98 by 100 equal to x means 1. kVA is 15. 15 into 10 raised to 3 power factor is 1 by 15 into 10 raised to 3 into 1 plus 2 Wi. We need to find out the iron loss and copper loss. So Wi equal to, using a calculator, we will get it as 153.06 watt, which is equal to copper loss. Copper loss equal to 153.06 watts. Fifth problem is an ideal 100 watt transformer has input current of 20 amps and an output voltage is equal to 12 volt. First determine the input voltage, calculate the output current. How many secondary turns does the transformer have if there are 200 primary turns? It is given NP equal to 200 turns, primary turns, and input power equal to 100 watt. Since it is an ideal transformer, input power equal to output power is equal to 100 watt. IP is given as 20 amps. Vs is given as 12 volt. We need to find out Ns, Vp and Is. First we will find out the primary voltage. We know that input power equal to Vp into Ip. So input power is given 100 watt equal to Vp into Ip is 20 amps. So Vp can be found out as 100 by 20 equal to 5 volt. On the secondary side, P out equal to Vs into Is. So P out is 100 equal to 12 into Is. Is can be written as 100 by 12 equal to 8.33 amps. Next, we'll find out the secondary turns, secondary side turns. Using this equation, NP by NS equal to VP by VS. It is given primary turns is 200 by NS equal to VP is 5 volt and VS is 12 volt. So NS is equal to 480 turns. Since NS is greater than NP and VS is greater than VP, it is a step up transformer. 7th problem is, transformer has input voltage of 120 volt and an input current of 5 amps. The output voltage is 11.9 volt and output current is 49 amps. First, we need to find out how much power was absorbed by primary coil. Second, how much power delivered by secondary coil. Third, what is the efficiency of transformer. It is given VP equal to 120 volt, IP equal to 5 amps, VS equal to 11.9 volt, IS equal to 49 amps. We need to find out P in, P out and efficiency. We know that P in equal to VP into IP, that is 120 into 5 amps equal to 600 watt. Second, we need to find out the P out. P out equal to VS into IS means 11.9 into 49 equal to 583.1 watt. This is not an ideal transformer, so power is not exactly the same. So we can use the equation for efficiency as P out by P in into 100. That is, P out is 583.1 watt divided by P in is 600 watt into 100. We'll get efficiency as 97.2%. Last problem is, a transformer has 400 primary turns and 1800 secondary turns. Input voltage is 12 volt and output current is 3 amps. When connected across a resistor, what is the output voltage? Determine the input current. Third, what is the value of resistor? Fourth, how much power is dissipated by the resistor. It is given NP equal to 400 turns, NS equal to 1800, VP equal to 12 volt. We need to find out VS, IP, and it is given IS equal to 3 amps. First, we'll find out the secondary voltage using this equation. NP by NS equal to VP by VS. NP, NS and VP is given. 400 by 1800 equal to 12 by VS. VS is equal to 54 volt. Next, we will find out the value for IP, that is primary current, using this equation. NP by NS equal to IS by IP. Since current and number of turns are inversely proportional, NP by NS equal to IS by IP. We know that turns ratio, that is 400 by 1800 equal to IS is already given 3 amps, 3 by IP. IP equal to 13.5 amps. Next, we need to find out the resistor value using the Ohm's law, that is V equal to IR. V is already given. Since resistor is connected across the secondary side, we are using secondary side voltage. We already got the value for secondary side voltage as 54 volt equal to secondary side current is 3 amps into R. R equal to 54 by 3 equal to 18 ohm. Next, we need to find out how much power is dissipated by the resistor. We know that P equal to I square R. I on the secondary side is 3 square into resistor value. We already got the value for resistor 18. 9 into 18 equal to 162 watts. Power absorbed by the primary coil can be find out as P in equal to VP IP equal to VP is 12 into IP is 13.5, which is equal to 162 watt. Power delivered by the secondary coil, P out equal to VS IS equal to VS is 54, IS is 3, 162 watt. So power absorbed by the primary coil and power dissipated by the resistor and power delivered by the secondary coil are all same, that is 162 watt.